I'll start this examination of the obstruction rule with a typical example of willful blindness. This from the match commentators.
Shiroga into the England circle. England do well. They're going to refer it, are they? They're going to refer that, and I think that... Yeah, Simon Mason alongside me thinks it's definitely a foot. You see on the replay, the ball is kept strong. There's nothing wrong with the carrying position. There it just pops up. We can't see from that angle what it comes off. Initially, Rebecki challenged it. It'll be this angle that gives us an idea. Nothing wrong with the carry position. Rebecki coming back with the ball under control. As the England defence try and step in, the shave tackle, suggestion of backstick in the first instance, but does it come off the foot of Twigg? No, there's no foot in there. And the question is was there a foot? I don't think there's even a knee. There's nothing wrong with that. What does that hit? It's the back stick of the Argentina player, isn't it? Well, I'm not sure. Well, we'll see from the angle. We got a decision. It's Twigg who comes in. There, I think that suggestion, that's top of shin pad, but we haven't had anything that's clear. It's a suggestion. Or is it handle? I'm not sure. Is it hand of stick? A hand on stick?
I think the twice repeated "there is nothing wrong with the carry position" by Simon Mason is a clear case of cognitive dissonance. He knew perfectly well there was something wrong with the carry position. I think there is an obvious obstruction offence here, but let's see what the rules say about the matter. The rule says players must not obstruct an opponent who is attempting to play the ball. It goes on to say players obstruct if they back into an opponent, which didn't happen, physically interfere with the stick or body of an opponent. There was stick interference, foot to stick, blocking the stick of the defender, shield the ball from a legitimate tackle with their stick or any part of their body. Well, yes, there was shielding of the ball with the body. That was quite obvious. But instead of obstruction, the entire focus was on whether or not there had been a ball body contact, a ball leg contact. Even though, if there had been a leg ball contact, it would not have been an offence because there was no advantage gain. But I want in this video to focus on obstruction initially, on the structure of the rule itself. Over a period of 25 years, that is since 1993, the year a significant exception to the obstruction rule was introduced as a new interpretation of obstruction, there have been a number of amendments made. The initial amendment, made in 1994, pretty much destroyed the rule. The change made in 1994 was only one word. Must became may, removing a clear instruction and replacing it with a choice. The modern umpire has forgotten that the original change referred only to a receiver of the ball, and not just to a player in possession of the ball. Application became so poor that the Rules Board felt obliged to point out in the introduction of the 1998 rules of hockey that there still was an obstruction rule. By 2009, the text on the screen, which contains two more descriptions of obstructive actions concealed as exceptions, had been added to the rule. I'll come back to that point. Running in front of or blocking an opponent to prevent that opponent playing the ball are also descriptions of obstructive actions. The descriptions might also refer to third-party obstruction, about which there needs to be more said. Third-party obstruction has never been clearly set out in the rules as an offence that has distinct criteria which are not the same as the criteria for obstruction by a player in possession of the ball. This clip, which was produced by the FIH Umpiring Committee and presented on dartfish.com, illustrates an example of play in which it was declared that there was no obstruction because the Argentinian player made no attempt to play at the ball. A ridiculous assertion. When all of the descriptions of what obstruction by a player in possession of the ball are counted, we get 7 bullet points and some repetition which needs sorting into obstruction by a moving player or by a stationary player. To go through them, players obstruct if they back into an opponent, obviously a moving offence. Move bodily into an opponent, a moving offence. Physically interfere with the stick or body of an opponent, a moving. Shield the ball from a legitimate tackle with their stick or any part of their body, possibly a stationary offence. Move into a position between the ball and an opponent who is within playing distance of the ball and attempting to play it, a moving offence. Run in front of an opponent to stop them legitimately playing or attempting to play at the ball, a moving offence. Block off an opponent to stop them legitimately playing or attempting to play at the ball, probably a stationary offence. The rule finishes with 2 statements. One about the player being permitted to move off in any direction and the other about the stationary player receiving the ball. Neither are very helpful. The fact that a player in possession of the ball is permitted to move off with it in any direction tells us nothing about the obstruction rule. When such a player is not permitted to do so, does so. I have adjusted the text accordingly. In the same way, when a stationary player may be facing in any direction when receiving the ball, tells us nothing about obstruction. It is not even clear why this remark is included in the explanation of application of the obstruction rule. It explains nothing. This short sentence about a receiving player is in fact all that is left of the new interpretation of 1993, which when introduced required a page and a half of text in the technical interpretation section of the rulebook. It now needs and deserves more and better explanation than is given at present. It is an important exception to the possibility of an obstruction offence. In 1998, the Hockey Rules Board issued guidance to umpires asking for more vigilance about obstruction offences, and the 2002 advice to umpires included the bullet points listed on screen. Regrettably, in the 2004 rewrite and reformat of the rules of hockey, 3 of them were omitted. They are turn and try to push past an opponent, shield the ball with body, leg or stick and stand still when under pressure, drag the ball near the back foot when moving down the sideline or along the back line. Umpires may now be unaware that these points were ever in the rules of hockey, and have since 2002 reverted to the poor practice common between 1994 and 1998, or have gone way beyond that, simply ignoring obstruction offences altogether. Even taken into consideration the poor writing of the current obstruction rule, it's extremely difficult to explain the umpiring which has occurred in these matches. Is there no shielding here? No attempt to play the ball? Is there no backing in here? And again, backing in. The official who umpired this particular incident and gave a free hit to the Dutch player demonstrated that he had no understanding of the obstruction rule at all.